Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Just Fun Stuff. It is a rainy day here on Funland, but that is not going to stop us from creating something awesome. Today, we are doing a pretty simple build. We are making kind of a floating gnome village in the trees. It'll look like little floating tree houses or little gnome houses in the trees, and I can't wait to get started. As always, putting up a base for the backdrop. I'm really into waterfalls right now. I haven't been for a while. I wasn't using them in a lot of builds, but I just think they make an amazing backdrop for almost anything and everything, and it looks pretty. So putting in the waterfall, not to mention it adds to that fairyish theme. I don't know, there's something about the water that it works. So putting in a little waterfall, adding another one to this side, and once this is done, the main part of the actual cliff building will be done. So waterfalls in, looking beautiful already, and as always, the storage shed and DIY, although I don't think there's too much to DIY for this one. It's a lot of stuff I already had. Now this part here, this was the fun part. This was trial and error for sure. The thought was floating block behind the trees so that you can't see it, and it took me forever to get the floating block to be placed where I wanted it to, and then putting a dollhouse on the back. Now, this dollhouse was a little bit sideways facing the opposite direction because I didn't want to add on cliffside to give myself more room to stand behind it and put it straight, but it's still up there and it worked. Now we're just decorating the area around it because you obviously want to see that. Adding some more dollhouses, turning on the lights. That's the only thing with this build that I couldn't figure out is once you have the dollhouses up on the floating block, I couldn't get the lights to turn on. So I wanted to incorporate as many of the dollhouses on the actual cliffside as I could as well, just so that I could have some light because I'm all about the light at night. Alright, so the main cliff part is pretty much up. Some of the houses are up. Now we go ahead and we plant the rest of the trees because, like I said, this is like a floating treehouse or treehouse gnome village. So you have to have multiple trees in order to do that. I was just clearing out my pockets here because I had a bunch of stuff. But the trees are there, and now adding the floating blocks and the dollhouse in the right direction, and you can see how it looks like it's just sitting on the top of the tree, and I thought, how cute is that for a little gnome village to be floating tree houses? There we go. And if you did notice the blue, I was keeping with a blue and kind of green theme for this area. Now this part is the longest part. It is pathing the area out because I felt that this particular area needed it. It really needed a full-on path. We just fast forwarded a bit to make you not watch that, but you can see how much space how much area that it took up to do. So it was a long one, but again, not too intricate around the trees in some areas. But now we're adding some bunnies because I don't know, I feel like the gnomes and nature, they all go together. So adding another little gnome over here by his little house because they're just so cute. And having to now build, because again, this is a gnome village. I wanted it to be like a working area. So I wanted to put in a little, I'm going to call it a star mine, and you'll see why eventually, but there's a little gnome with his mine cart. And then I needed to go ahead and customize some panels, and then we had to build our little archway. I think the stone arch for this particular type of design worked the best for me. I find the panels fit behind it better. I do like the new arches that we have with the ivy on them, but I find they're really, really big and the panels don't fit as well behind them, so the stone arch worked better. Now we're adding some more decorations, more garden gnomes, obviously, because this is a gnome village. A lot of the glowing moss items and the giant vines. Like I said, I'm sticking with that blue and green theme because I think that can be fairy-like as well. It doesn't just have to be the pinks. I think the blue worked for this. I loved the little blue houses. I love all the blue glowing moss items, the balloons everywhere. There was a balloon I forgot to customize. But again, all stuff that I've already had from other builds, just had to customize and change the color. Adding some glowing moss stools. Of course, mush lamps. Mush lamps and garden gnomes, it's like they're meant to be together. Any of the mush items, for that matter. But now more glowing moss stools. I think this is so cute, putting the stools on the boulders. I saw it on a tour that I did, and I thought, that's adorable. I need to do that. I just like the height, and I think it's just too cute. But now you can see it really come together. We're adding some fencing because it's the little details that make everything. And for some reason, adding a little bit of the country fencing changes up the whole look of the area, and I love it. Alright, now you can see it's starting to come together. It's actually starting to look like a little gnome village, not just a little nothing. And of course, sticking with the blue theme, I finally got to use this patch of blue roses that I've had sitting beside Nook's Cranny for literally ever, and I haven't known where to put them yet because the color hasn't gone with anything that I'm doing, but it finally worked out where I got to use the blue roses, and this area was just so perfect for that. Blue roses everywhere because they go with the whole blue theme that we're working with. Alright, now of course adding a bit of the glowing moss everywhere because that's my new go-to instead of just regular flowers. I find that I'm using less and less regular flowers and more of the glowing mosses and the ivy on the cliff sides because they just look beautiful. Now we're dropping some star fragments around because I love the blue colors. They sparkle at night, and this is a star mine after all that the gnomes are working in and collecting, so of course you've got to drop them all over the place. Adding some of these standees because they just, I don't know, you could put in real hedges and real shrubs, but the standees are just so cute. Adding more glowing moss and a little more fence to add kind of a border to the actual build. I had some extra trees in my pocket, so I figured might as well add them. I may actually at some point go back and add a couple more houses, but I didn't have any more houses. Had to stop and talk to Petrie. She wanted me to deliver a present to Bo, which we did do later on in the day. But now we're just finishing off decorating, adding more mush lamps because I love the light. And you can see this whole little scene coming together, and it's so cute. Street lamps everywhere because light, that's the only thing I can say, is light. And this little gnome village of houses in the trees is now completed, and I think it looks so cute. The little waterfall behind, the little working mine where they're mining for the stars. There's little houses on the cliffside with the little gnomes. There's little gnomes down on the ground. The bunnies, the glowing moss, the blue flowers, the blue glowing moss items everywhere. The moss, I think it all came together. I love the little houses in the trees. It's just such a fun, cute area, and an area you can definitely expand off of, which is the best. I want to thank you guys, though, so much for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you've already subscribed. You are amazing. Thank you so much, and I will definitely be back with more Animal Crossing videos.